Hello, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm joined by my dear friend, Augustina Zinga. How are you doing today, sir?
Yep, I'm doing amazing. Great to be here once again. Well, big up the AC community and everybody tuning in. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
How was your last live? I saw you were yesterday. I saw you were covering Ye's apology.
Yeah. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. The classic scattergun approach from me across various different topics and stuff. And yeah, covered a bit of the Ye apology stuff, which was quite interesting to see the kind of backlash from that. I didn't get onto the, but Piers Morgan, who I'm sure you know, big kind of
Mm-hmm.
guy
Thomas
over
Crown
here.
Affair.
Yeah, he actually made a tweet the other day, or just yesterday, I think, actually, kind of like doubting the sincerity of Ye's apology, and I was kind of going to touch on that a little bit, but didn't remember. No, yeah, there's a few other stuff going on as well on the timeline. There's always interesting things occurring on the timeline.
It's interesting because I think we're going to segue into this when actors and artists and
Mm,
musicians and comedians or whatever, when they start getting political and they start kind of like doing that. I don't know if it's called virtue
yeah.
signaling or whatever, but I mean, if Ye wrote that apology, which I do believe he did, I saw you
Mm,
read it, I think yesterday on your live.
hmm
Why people can't accept an apology? You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, what was his criticism?
to be fair to people, again, you're speaking to a number one Ye fanboy, right? So um there's nothing really he can do that's ever going to make me not be a fan of his, but I can also be objective and say that I understand the people that doubt his sincerity, because that whole anti-Semitic world tour that he was on wasn't something that happened in like a silo and in isolation. It was a sustained attack against the Jewish people, the Jewish community. Like, he was going, and he wasn't even very specific about he's not a fan of Zionists and shit and all that malarkey. He was very specific in saying all Jewish people are my enemies. DEFCON 6, all that malarkey. He was going crazy, and a lot of it was, if you listen to what he had to say, none of it was coming from a place where he just invented it. It was obviously coming from a lot of things that he kind of suffered from or went through, and he was kind of blaming it all on that sort of on those group of people. So you can imagine, if you're a Jewish person who's a fan of Ye, and you had to listen to him say all those things, you had to listen and watch as he crashed out and went out of his way to really try and goad people. Like, I even remember during the period of time where it kind of initially started, if I'm not mistaken, around the time he was about to drop the Gap and Yeezy collection, because at that time he was working with Gap, and he did this really cool collection where he kind of like hired this guy called Demna, who was a designer at Balenciaga at that time, to do like a freeway collection. It would be like Gap, Yeezy, and Balenciaga. And the idea behind it was that he wanted to democratize fashion and get all these really cool ideas that Balenciaga did and what he's done with Yeezy to as many people as possible. And Gap was a symbol of like the normie general public sort of brand. And I
Affordable.
remember, yeah, affordable brand. And I remember he said something dicey around that time, and then somebody from the Gap kind of like board was like, "Hey, apologize or say something." And if you know anything about Ye, the moment you say apologize or walk something back, he's gonna triple, quadruple down. Then soon after the Gap situation, he doesn't triple down. He gets cut off from Gap. They basically cut the collection before it even launches, which was crazy because it's going to do really well. Soon after,
I
the
think
Adidas thing
Adidas
happens.
too, right? It
Yeah,
was
and then soon after,
Adidas.
the Adidas thing happened, and then I think because and again, Ye's very, it's a big star, and he's a bit narcissistic a little bit, so he was like, "Oh, I lost the Gap deal, I lost the Adidas deal," and then soon after, his bank account was frozen, which was a crazy subway story segue of a story, because if I remember correctly, if I got my Ye law correct, the
How can they even do that?
yeah,
They did that
exactly,
to
it's crazy.
Wendy. It's
I think
wild.
so. What's that bank in America that you have that's like a yellow and gold? It kind of like a McDonald's. What's that
Wells
name?
Fargo.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So Ye had a Wells
That's the
Fargo.
bank that took Wendy's money. They had
Yeah,
Kanye's too.
that's the one that had Ye's money. So if I remember correctly, Ye's luck is so horrible. Once he got cut off, once he got fired from Adidas, he went on an attack, and I think he posted a picture of the board members or something of Adidas that are involved in the deal, and he said something on Instagram about, "Oh yeah, I hate these people," something in it, some sort of like cunty comment. And I'm pretty sure the wife of somebody on that board is a head person at Wells Fargo. So they instantly overnight kind of like locked his account and they froze whatever funds that were sent to him from Adidas. So he had his bank account frozen, Adidas deal cut off, Gap deal cut off, and then that's when he went on the attack with the Jewish thing, really rocking hard.
Well, then
So
I think right after that was the Virgil thing too, and
exactly,
then
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. So in a way, if you're a Jewish person and you listen to him say those things, that wasn't stuff that came from mania. That was stuff that came from him not understanding that his actions have consequences, him being very, just insulting basically to a Jewish community by saying that everything that's going bad is the fault of the Jewish people.
Can we
It's hard
stop
for
there
you
for
to
one
accept it, you know?
second? Because you
Mm,
mentioned something. I just want to go back up 1 second. Like, because I thought that there was a misunderstanding that he was just talking about Zionism, and I'm in no way super knowledgeable about
no,
the
no.
that thing. But you said it was all Jews. He said that.
Yeah, because it's a hard one to kind of wrangle. It's a mixed one because for the longest time, yeah, he's always had a bit of an issue with record contracts. Anyway, he's always been very like kind of against it. Owning of the masters, he sees that as like a modern day version of slavery, etc., etc., etc. But he also to kind of well, I just remember now, he also had that instance with that personal trainer that also skewed things. So he was going through his manic bipolar episode and then he got a personal trainer. This really, I forgot his name. I think it's Harley or something like that. He's a big Hollywood personal trainer, and if I'm not mistaken, that personal trainer advised him to get on some meds that fucked him up, and then there was that whole narrative. So yeah,
This is an even better segue to our
mm,
kind of our main topic. The letter that you read, and you said big ups Bianca for getting him to a place outside of Hollywood. There's a lyric which I'm sure you know. I don't negotiate with therapists
yeah,
in
yeah,
one
yeah,
of his
yeah,
songs, and that's 100%. I believe about Hollywood therapists. Like when
100%.
we found out about that guy who was his old trainer, that guy was Canadian intelligence.
And he was there. He
I
was
just got the
definitely
chills.
he definitely had some Mossad ties to him. He was a very very dodgy individual. Um,
Super.
but
Also, did you see
yeah,
like there was something that I might have seen it on your show, but it showed all the people that he trains. The guy that
mm,
that guy basically threatened Ye too. He's like, you won't see your kids. It will get real quiet. Whatever he said.
yeah, crazy.
When you see like all the people, and no shade, it's hard to lose weight when you see all the people that like he works. First of all, they're all famous, but half of them, like one was Lizzo before Ozempic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a weird one to have as like your success story, isn't
Right.
it?
Look how far
it's
she's
a,
come.
it's like having Kelly Osbourne as one of your success stories. Like, I'm not
Whoa,
too
have you
sure.
seen her lately
Yeah,
though?
exactly. I'm not too sure burpees have done that. I'm not too sure it's burpees that have done that.
That's not hitting the gym extra
No, no,
hard.
no, 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 no. She completed all the levels of them, but bless her though. She's like, I'm never gonna be fat again. She's make sure she's stabbing that thing into her neck. She's stabbing it into her bum. You're not gonna catch her getting big anymore. I rate
I
I
could
respect it.
not believe when I saw I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
even look like the same person. But you are right. Like where she's at now, it would take a very, very long time to keep.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, no,
There's
you're never
hardly
up there.
anything left.
Never. Yeah, she's like, you know what? Never ever. I don't care about the jokes. Say them. I'm gonna fit into this size zero dress, yo.
So today, AZ and I are going to discuss some topics related to my sister. Again, just making a few videos to establish patterns of behavior.
Hmm.
Shout out Miss Rachel. Did you see my sister? Oh, before I go on, I would like to preamble this with facts are not defamation, and everyone is legally allowed to have their own opinion. So there's that. Shout out Miss Rachel. Do you know who Miss Rachel is?
Negative.
Okay. Do you know who it's the English child. It's Peppa Pig. Do you know who
Yeah, of
Peppa
course.
Pig
Yeah, yeah,
is?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, she's not a cartoon, but she's basically the US's Peppa Pig.
Okay,
But I'm
okay,
pretty
okay.
sure she's global. She's
Mhm,
sort of like Sesame Street vibes.
mhm,
I got messages yesterday. I'm not joking from people I went to high school with,
mm,
from people I haven't spoke to in 5 years.
mm.
Ashley, your sisters, but Whitney is going after Miss Rachel. I guess in the Daily Mail, that's your publication.
Yeah, yeah,
Whitney
yeah.
Cummings has to apologize to Rachel. The woman has 1.8 billion. I've never seen a B behind views.
What's the
1.8.
beef? What's the
The
beef?
Whitney just said that it was very strange. I
Okay.
don't remember exactly. in a par for the course right now with my
Yeah,
sister, I
yeah.
guess.
Mm.
But she basically just attacked her on either Twitter or something like Rachel Ray sucks or something, whatever. She didn't say sucks, but if you and she wears fun clothes, she does dances and teaches the alphabet and the math in a very fun way. She goes, if you have to dress up like a kid to make kids like you, then that's something to talk to your mental health professional about. Something like this.
God
If you
almighty.
Google it, I mean, if you just look, it's like video because
God
now
almighty,
she's
Whitney.
alienated the last, this is my opinion,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah.
last standing demo she had, moms.
To be fair, she was always. I never got the opinion. Wasn't didn't she do? Yeah, she. I don't think she's been. I don't think she's trying to appease the mumsnet people because wasn't there that thing that she did recently where she was in the airport and she was like
Oh,
ranting about for all the people out there who are giving me dirty looks because my kid is walking around like topless. Da, 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 da. So I think she's always been one of those type of mums. You're the type of mums that's like, she kind of has an alternative way of like parenting. Like, I'm gonna talk to my child. I'm gonna let my child be, to choose how they want to present themselves outside, type of thing. Yeah, I think
I
she's always
saw some TikToker, and I don't even have TikTok. It's
Mm.
just like started to trend, I guess. And they were like, your child's 2. He's not interested in reading Citizen Kane just yet, like Pride and Prejudice.
It's okay. That's hilarious.
So I have a few questions that you have.
Mm.
I guess the first would be, when did you start watching my sister? Because I know you were a fan of her for years
I
before.
wouldn't. I wouldn't say I was a fan. I would just say that she was. No, I wouldn't say I was like a fan because I think that's a bit of a stretch. I would say I was aware of her. Probably around OG T Fat K days. So that iconic episode where she comes on T Fat K and basically airs out Callan about the time that she was in the car with him and he pulled out his wee wee. Around that time.
Was this like what, 10 years ago, 12
Yeah, it was
years
on
ago?
Fox. Yeah,
You're talking
it was
about
on.
Brendan Schaub,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. It was when they were on Fox. So around that same time, Whitney and Brendan were allegedly messing with each other and stuff. And that was the time that I kind of knew about her sort of times. Well, she was still hanging around. She would appear from time to time on Crystal Lear's podcast or he'd be on hers. She went on T Fat K for a couple of times, and I didn't mind her. She seemed to be one of the only like female comedian guests that would come on that seemed like a good hang. She wasn't overly political. I'd say she wasn't always doing the feminist thing. So she seemed like a fun kind of, chill kind of person. And obviously, whenever she'd go on Rogan, I think the early appearances on Rogan were pretty decent from her. She'd always have like good conversations. They'd always be very interesting, very topics and stuff. So that was it. But I can't even say that I was a fan or I listened to a stand-up or anything along those kind of lines because I didn't. I might have watched the first few episodes of her pod when it first launched, when she had a couple of Hollywood actors on there and stuff. And I think I told you before that I think I watched her pod the time when she first started and she had that kind of chubby gay guy as her Jamie.
Benson.
Yeah, as her Jamie. And they had like a good little chemistry between them. And then I think I may have fallen off of it and stopped listening to her maybe around the time the whole cancel culture thing started going on. Especially the way that she acted when Crystal Lear kind of got cancelled. It was a little bit like a bit fake, a bit weird, a bit strange. And ever since then, I haven't really been paying that much attention to her, to be completely honest.
But you started kind of watching her because of Brendan Schaub, and then that became the Rogan sphere or whatever, right? A bunch of them, Callan, etc.
Yeah. But I think again, for a Rogan sphere person, thinking back, she was pretty much unproblematic. She was left alone. No one really kind of like said anything negative about her, from what I can remember anyway, for the most part. Everyone kind of like was just, she was cool. No one, I don't think people were like seeking her stuff out, but when she came on, I don't think anyone was kind of turning off. She had good banter when she came on pods, was always a kind of a bit of a fun guest. But then something kind of changed. Something changed. I think.
When do you think you noticed that change? Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, when Crystal Lear got cancelled, I think that whole kind of like flip flopping that she done, which I understand because she was probably going through a hard time trying to wrangle whether to like what side of history does she want to be on. Does she want to stand on history on the side of her friend that she worked with for more than a decade, or does she want to like stand with the Me Too victims who are kind of rising up and trying to, essentially claim their spot in Hollywood, which kind of is what it mostly felt like. There were some genuine victims, but some of the people were just trying to replace the guys that were basically abusing them, type of thing. So she didn't know where to go. She kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And then I think in general that kind of made her look a little bit, I want mischievous, a little bit fake, a little bit whatever. And then I think the spiral kind of started from there. Then a little bit of the spiral started, and I think around that time also, that's when kind of your name popped up, or like there's the hints of like, oh my god, there's a sister. Do you know what I mean? Like, and those kind of weird things that are kind of said. And I think normal people who are curious would hear it and think, hold on, why do you keep going on about this person that we don't know about? And then you do your Googles and you found you'd be like, that doesn't really match what you're saying. So it'd be another sort of like, minus on her book, like, you're a bit weird with the whole Brian Callen thing. Then Chris D'Elia gets cancelled and you start acting as if like he's the craziest monster ever when you were doing that sort of stuff with Callen or whatever and didn't complain about it. Then you're out here badmouthing your sister who none of us know in public, but you're making it seem as if this person is the worst person in the world. Then we look into it and the stories don't really match up. Yeah. So it was quite easy to kind of see from there.
Thank you for the $2. Is that oh my god, I was like, I can't get it wrong.
Adi Z.
I know, but what's the guy that's on your channel all the time? Aziz?
Assad Aziz.
Assad Aziz, thank you. So interesting, thank you for the $2. Whitney Weeza talking about you. Oh, I thought you said she was talking about me. I was like, she's been talking about me for 13 years. Yeah, that was, so it had been happening, but then when she started saying siblings, and family members. And it's interesting. How did you know it was about me? Because she didn't always say sister.
I think probably just a Reddit or something. I think somebody probably maybe said your name or said, or most likely this person, because the sort of commentary scene at that time wasn't as big as it once was now. So you kind of, you just kind of found stuff out by reading comments here and there. I don't think there's much kind of videos out there about you, but I'm pretty sure somebody mentioned your name in passing in the comments about that, and you kind of got a bit of an understanding about that because everyone's kind of tied. There's always somebody out there that has a little bit more knowledge of the law and kind of knows who the faces are. So I think that's what it was, just a passing comment. And then, you do your Googles, you look around, you're like, this story doesn't match up really. It doesn't make any much sense to what you're kind of saying on camera. So yeah.
I wanted to reiterate, we would not know each other if it wasn't for my sister's slander and defamation on my name. So I said there's a silver lining in slander.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if the person's open though, because I think I was when it comes to this stuff, this commentary stuff, as much as I like to rag on certain people, I always like to preface it and say I'm just commenting on stuff I see online. I'm not digging any deeper. I'm not fucking looking through your friends list and your comments, and I'm not doing any extra like investigation than what I just hear and see online, like Instagram and videos. So if you're a curious person and you're open-minded, you will see and hear things, and sometimes they won't match up, and then it's up to you to kind of be open to like your mind being changed.
To give a shit or not, right? To care or not. And most people don't. I thanked you for this last time, being such a solid human being. Most people don't, and I get it. And also, somehow, I think there's this like transition from people are like, well, she's successful, she has millions of dollars, so she must be telling the truth. And
it's especially in this comedy world that they have that, like, I'm not sure comedy world's not good. No, I take it back. Not comedy world. I think in content overall in this entertainment industry, there is a lot of that sort of like there's a lot of that kind of philosophy or adage, like if you make money, then you are right, or that you are the best or something. It's a very strange kind of thing, but people always have that in the back of their minds. It's sort of like a thing, and even comedians say it to each other as sort of like an insult. Oh, if you criticize me, it's because you don't sell tickets. It's because I'm here, I'm there. It's always it's never really it's never really the value of what the person's actually saying. It's more so about, oh, my status is up here, so what I say kind of goes. I kind of dictate the narrative, and I think the good thing to come out of this whole commentary detractor thing is that most people aren't buying into it. They're not buying it. They're not buying the fucking narrative of like, what they're saying, and they also are not buying the idea that just because you don't like what someone does, that means that you're some sort of like evil, heinous person. Like it's not that deep.
Of course, agree. And I think there is a kind of a thread of that throughout society in general. Like it's almost like there is an article that I read the higher up people go in money, and I'm talking about like, you know, I don't want to say this, but like people that 35 million is like Bezos, Elon Musk, stuff like this. The higher the psychopathy and the narcissism, you just have to. There's so many people you have to step on, forget about, um, etc. But do you feel like there's a shift in consciousness, especially regarding people in the public, like actresses, actors? You know, Pierce Bronson, yeah,
Mhm.
Bronson just did it with Ye. Like he's got more money.
No, Piers
Well,
Morgan,
actually,
Piers
he does
Morgan,
not
Piers
have more
Morgan, Piers
money than
Morgan,
Ye. That's
Piers
true.
Morgan, Piers Morgan, Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. Oh,
Yeah,
the interview guy. Well,
yeah.
he like no one has as much money as Ye, right? But
Yeah.
he does have a voice to attack somebody who I think is kind of vulnerable right now, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But do you think there's a shift in how people are seeing, like, I don't want to say like the truth, but like how there might be another version of the story?
Yeah, of course. There's, I think in general, like the issue is that I think some people, especially those group of people, they have this how do you say it? They have this weird idea in their head that they can kind of always control the narrative. And I think the moment you accept that, if you put stuff online about yourself and you put yourself out there enough, most likely the people watching or consuming the stuff that you do have a pretty much a good understanding of who you are as a person. So you can't tell them who you are or what you meant. They're gonna interpret it as you said it. So I think that's when the sort of like the kind of disconnect kind of starts a little bit.
100%. And then there's also kind of a built-in bias. People will watch somebody and it will become kind of like a habit and sort of like the show they watch every couple weeks. And so then it makes it even harder to even care to want to think. People have kids, they have dinner, they have
Mhm.
jobs, you know what I mean? They have other things to do than care about whether a celebrity's telling the truth about
Exactly,
their
exactly,
sibling or not. But think
exactly.
about how many sad stories there are of famous people's siblings. I was talking to someone about that, and,
Yeah.
it's a weird it's, like, doesn't feel it's too many to be, like, a coincidence, but either just completely pretending like you don't have a sibling or completely throwing them under the bus, which was Whitney's choice.
Yeah, it's like a I don't think there's a middle ground, and there's probably not a
Mm,
middle ground. There's either the sibling where you're kind of in competition with them, or there's the sibling that is not really known, but just behind this, privately behind closed doors, you guys are completely cool. There is no middle ground. It feels like I think of the first one I think of that comes to mind is like Britney Spears and her sister. Like her sister's widely like
Lynn,
yeah, she's
yeah,
widely yeah, some Jamie Lynn or something. Yeah? Jamie Lynn, I
Jamie
think.
Lynn, that's right.
Yeah, I think she's widely unliked. Like across the board, people don't like her. I don't know particularly why. I'm not really too familiar with the
Well, I
law.
can tell you when Britney
Yeah.
was in a conservatorship, and I did think
Mm,
this was interesting, sister stuff does interest me for
mm,
obvious
mm,
reasons.
mm,
When Britney was put in a conservatorship, and I do not know, I've never met Britney Spears. I don't know what's going on with her. I've never really like in terms of her mental stuff, but like we know from Ye and a lot of other
mm,
stories, people can get drugged, and that happens a lot in Hollywood.
mm,
But Jamie Lynn was a beneficiary for 13 years of like, I have no idea, maybe a
yeah.
million or so dollars a year from Britney's conservatorship. Like she took
Jesus
her sister's
Christ.
money.
Jesus. So it kind of was in her best interest for Britney to be in a conservatorship. You know what I mean? She wasn't trying to.
What's your
she
favorite Whitney Cummings joke?
favorite current movie jokes. Her views are real.
That's good. That's funny that somebody Magnus Galactus OG. What's up? That's so funny you mentioned that. The first time I noticed the celebrities siblings phenomenon was with Mariah Carey. It's tragic what her sister has gone through.
I didn't know she had a
Didn't
sister.
Yeah, well, I found this out like 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe
Okay.
Magnus knows more. She had a sister that apparently had AIDS and like
Whoa.
was asking Mariah for help. And Mariah has a lot of money, right? Even if she didn't want to see her sister, like help her. But didn't her
Holy sh-
sister and her mom die in the same day, like in the last 2
holy
years?
shit.
But
What?
Mariah's like, no, 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 I can't give my sister anything. I don't care if she's dying of AIDS. And I just thought, no matter what's going on with them, and I do not know the history or anything like this, I just can't imagine. And again, it's like I've thought about this a lot, but if Whitney and I's shoes were reversed, there's no version of me letting her struggle or go through anything, even if I didn't prefer to speak to her. You know what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's there's added extra bit of tension when it comes to women. And there's just a little bit of extra venom and spice there,
You
probably.
think?
Yeah, unfortunately so. But then I also wonder as well if it's part of it is this whole like when you grow up with somebody, like imagine like your siblings, so you grow up with somebody, but then they end up being like widely famous and successful, but you only see them as the person that you grew up with, the person that used to, I don't
Yeah, I
know,
don't. I mean,
used
like
to, yeah,
I
yeah,
understand all that stuff, but I still
uh,
just see her as my little sister. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
exactly. So I mean, like, I wonder if it's like impossible, or it's like the likelihood of siblings being cool with each other if one is super famous is really hard because just by the very nature, because you know the person, you see them becoming widely successful, and it might change a little bit. It kind of just changes your dynamic of your relationship, even if you don't want it to. And or if you do end up hating each other, the hate is like extra because you kind of know them. Because I noticed that a little bit with when the whole BGO and Brendan thing was going on. Mark Harley, the
Can
former
you
kind of
tell us
thing.
what that is? What's the
So
BGO
so
Brendan thing?
so so BGO is the nickname that was given to this guy called Mark Harley, Big Gay Lion, who was an assistant or like he used to work basically for Brendan, and they had a big falling out. He's gone on to do great things now. He's starred in commercials. He's recently in a ASAP Rocky video. He was on SNL with ASAP Rocky performing, blah blah blah. So he's done pretty well for himself. But at the time, when they first kind of like split and the first sort of like split happened, BGL would be on social media, ranting and raving and talking all this shit about Brendan and exposing all this stuff about him. And I remember one time there was one particular stream I think he was on. He did a bunch of streams just like airing Brendan's dirty laundry out. I remember just watching him thinking like there's a lot of venom in what he's saying, which I understand because they split on bad terms. He feels like Brendan owes him money, blah 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 blah. But I was also thinking, I wonder if part of the reason why this venom is there and why he really seems to really hate the guys because he's seen like how the sausage was made. Like he's been on the inside, so he knows how much of an idiot, like for like not to be insulting, but how much of an idiot he is. But then he's also very aware of how well off he is as well, how rich he might be. So that kind of like clash of like seeing that person that you kind of maybe don't think that much of intelligently, maybe you don't think much of in terms of what they do as a job, but then they're also wildly more successful than you, can build like a very deep seated, almost visceral type of like hatred that no one else can get because know them type of thing. So maybe that kind of plays a role in some sibling sort of kind of rivalries where the other person isn't, like a Jamie Lynn kind of person. That might play a little bit into it where like the dynamic is weird because you know the person, you've seen them from when your children come together, they're widely more successful than you. You don't really get why that's the case. You might think you're the more talented person or talented sibling, hasn't quite worked out for you. And yeah, that kind of hate just keeps festering.
Well, it's interesting for me. I don't know about a lot of other people's situations, but for me, I had we didn't ever have like ball out fights or like
Mm.
crazy disagreements. It was always like, I mean, I remember one time my mom, I was like, yo, I was like in college, like I was in University of Miami, my sister was up at Penn, and I was like, yo, mom, what's up with Whitney? She's not answering her cell phone for like 2 weeks. And she goes, Ashley, Whitney's very concerned about your eating disorder, and she's terrified that you're going to die, so she can't speak to you on the phone anymore. We're like 19 and 20 at this time, and my sister's been very public about this. We both had eating disorders. What are you talking about? But more to what I'm saying is my sister always had a goal of being famous. I have never wanted to be famous, nor do I, nor will I, by the way. The Illuminati cannot get me. But I think there's a lot of projection that happens, especially in Hollywood. This
Yeah.
one time we're in her kitchen. This was in 2023. And I'm talking, I don't even know what we're talking about. We're talking about vegetables or whatever. We're
Mm.
making some food. And she just starts laughing at me. And it's just the two of us. I'm like, why are you laughing at me? She's like,
Yeah.
I'm just deciding whether or not I should make you famous. And I was like,
Jesus
no, 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 no. I don't
Christ.
want to be famous. I want to be your ninja in the background. Like, I want to, I want to be your sister. I don't want to be famous. She's like, I'm just so good at it, though, making people famous. And then in one stupid text argument we had in the last month, she's like, Ashley, you just want to be famous. Like when I brought up to her some stuff, I was like, No, what does that even have to do with our conversation? Absolutely, I do not want to be famous. But the only thing you respond to are my Twitter, what would we call them? Like freak offs?
Yeah, yeah, to a freak, yeah.
Twitter freak offs
Yeah,
about
yeah,
my
yeah,
sister.
yeah,
But I was literally like yesterday I was watching a video and I was like, and whatever, it's kind of cheesy. It's like this kind of self-help video, but
yeah.
this lady that I like, and she talks about stuff, and she's like, like follow your. She was talking about intuition and instincts, and she's like, just know, like, and my instincts literally were like, I haven't posted some stuff about my sister in a few days. Should probably do that.
Mm.
I mean, the more records I put out there, I think the better things are. And again, this none of this should be public. It's embarrassing to me too, but as you have seen, which is one reason you're pretty unique in this situation, as you've seen mostly from the outside, but we've gotten to know each other pretty well over what, the last 2 years or so. Um, as you've seen, it's like, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the last thing I just said? I apologize.
As I've seen with things how they've been perceived, you don't want it to be in public, but it is in public now.
Well, right. I mean,
It's
she started
embarrassing.
making it public a long time ago. Sorry, I think I
Um,
had a brilliant point, and I just
last time we
it'll come
seen,
back.
understand. Yeah, that was basically a train of thought. But no,
I'll remember.
it's this one's a weird one because it's more so the thing that's always kind of intrigued me and confused me has just been a lot of the preemptive things that she's done against you. That's interesting. It's like even that, like even what you mentioned before, the example. There's a lot of like preemptive, like like um
You
preemptive
mean like
slander.
premeditated sort of as
Yeah, no,
well?
no, yeah, premeditated preemptive slander, like which you would imagine would be make more sense if you were the one putting out that type of energy. Like if you were out there basically saying, "No, I'm the funnier one. No, I'm the more interesting one. Listen to my show." Do you know what I mean? That would make more sense, but it's not. So it's like, is she like fighting with somebody in her head that doesn't exist, or like you said, is it just like a weird like projection thing because maybe that's what she's thinking about herself in her head,
I mean, I
like
think
against
it's a
you.
mix.
Like I
Like
don't
when she
know.
gets mad at me and screams, like literally, and it'll be about not something really to do with us or really anything important. When she
Mm,
gets upset with me, it turns into this like, and she'll go back to childhood stuff, and I'm just like, "What are you talking about?" Like, so there is some stuff for sure that she's holding on to, but I'm like, "We can heal this." We went to
yeah,
couples
yeah, yeah.
therapy for sisters, but she showed up half the time. I think we had like 8 sessions. She showed up for 4.
Mamma mia,
Um,
mamma mia.
and like this one time she lied to the therapist. She was mad one day and she goes, Ashley, do you remember on one of my birthdays, you changed the voicemail of our house to say Whitney's not having a birthday party? That never happened. If anything, I probably told more people to come to her birthday party. Do you know what I'm saying?
God
Um,
almighty, man.
but
God
I think she
almighty.
has this idea that I want her life or I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
be like her. Like a bunch of friends, like very close friends of mine and people I consider family, like when we reunited the last time, she was like giving me clothes and wanted to go to this and wanted to go that. I'm more of a homebody person. I'm more of like a cozy person. I like safe things. I don't like huge groups of people. I don't like big light, things like this. And a woman that's literally known us since before we were born, Cynthia Bain, who worked for my father before my dad got married, and she used to babysit us. She goes, Ashley, you don't get it. Whitney thinks that if you have everything that she has, or she gives you something close to it, which she never did,
mm,
but owes it, not that much, but that you would want to do the same things as her. You'd want to go to these premieres and this and do that and do this. It's like, I want to just go chill with the horses and watch movies and be creative and do things like this, right? So
yeah,
we're
yeah.
very different in a lot of ways. But when she gets angry with me, the way she speaks to me, I'm like, do you even know me at all? Like the
Um,
things you say just don't even make sense for who I am. It's like she one time told me I was sadistic. I had to look the word up. Sadistic means that you enjoy watching other
Yeah,
people in
yeah, yeah,
pain.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is
Say
very
this.
legitimately the opposite of me.
And it probably, if you were being uncharitable, you say that probably describes her way more sadistic. I mean, definitely it's better to say this, but you know what's really interesting though? I don't know if it's even, maybe it's just a comedian thing. I get the feeling like you're going back to the whole she thinks she thinks I want what she has. Comedians are all like that. Like you hear Rogan say it loads of times about like, oh, even recently with the whole people going against the Rogan sphere. Oh, it's a walled garden. They want to be on the inside. They would love to be in agreement with us. You hear the same things Bert and these type of people say. They really do have this idea in their heads that everybody out there would want to be like them. But the reality is there might be people out there that might want the quote unquote lifestyle, maybe the fucking resources that come with that life. But I don't think they would want to be sitting in front of a camera all the time, talking, sharing their opinions, going to this, going to that event. But I think deep down there is, I don't know what that term is to call it, but they do have this like, maybe it's an aspect of the delusions of grandeur, but
Yes,
they really do think that their success is almost, their success is by default is something that everyone around them envies and would want. Like
that's
you can't just
exactly the
like
word I was thinking of. They think
you can't just
everyone
stand there and
envies them.
yeah, you can't just stand there and applaud and say yeah, congratulations and keep it moving. They think that you want to be them too. Like you, I mean, like they're the coolest people in the world. It's like I don't really think that's the case. I don't really think that's the case, but I think they all think that. And but then to give them some level of whatever, I think it also applies between each other. Which probably explains why there's so much like back talk,
You mean
talking
like
behind
there's
each
like
other's back.
like a little bit of competition
100%,
between them?
100%. Maybe a competition straight up, just like, oh, to your face, I'm all like, oh my god, happy to see you. Then when you turn around, I'm saying the worst things possible because they all kind of have that opinion of each other of like, oh yeah, like I'm sure some of these people think these previous comedians they are thinking that their fellow peers are super in tune with what they're doing. Like, oh my god, I bet she just saw that I sold out the fucking Roxy. I bet she wants to do. I bet he wants to do. Do you know what I mean? So they have this running fucking voice in their head that's telling them that the person they're speaking to has just wants what they have. So there's this weird like. That's probably why there's a clicky kind of like snaky weird energy around them, and I wonder if that's what she also has with you, where it's almost like this you're almost creating this like opponent that doesn't really exist, but then again in their world, to give her a little bit of credit, that does exist, that kind of person that is basically hating on what you're doing and wants what you have. So it's a bit weird. I don't know.
100,000%. So there's something that I talked about a while ago, like the being extremely rich, and some of them are extremely rich, but like I've been to not Saudi,
Mm,
been to Qatar. I mean,
mm,
there's the money when you go there that you see money that like it
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
look like little money in Hollywood, right?
Mm, mm, mm,
I don't. I had this feeling like I'm pretty sure like the United States doesn't want like if people saw what it was like over there, like just the gold, the unapologetic abundance, like people
mm.
be like, huh? I mean, it's a lot of it's oil money, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, there's this idea, and I believe in it, that being extremely rich is the same energy as being extremely poor or
yeah, yeah. I
in
agree.
lack.
I agree.
So there's something called the middle, what is it, point zero? Point zero is the like point of self-mastery. And if you
Mm,
notice in society, they're always wanting us to choose
mm,
Democratic, Republican. I think in
mm-hmm.
your with you, it's the labor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Labor
La-
and the conservatives, Tories. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mm,
Black, white, this
mm,
team, that team, gay,
mm,
straight,
mm,
and it's like you don't have to choose. You can
mm,
stay
mm,
in the middle. And I've
mm,
only ever wanted like a safe, peaceful life. I've never
mm,
wanted like a huge mansion and
mm,
cars, all these things.
mm,
I don't think that would be to be secure and like be able to do things that I want would be fun, but the
mm.
the mega 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 stuff has never been
Yeah, same,
like I
same,
told you,
same,
my
same.
ex-husband who passed away
Mm,
was very wealthy, but I
mm,
didn't care about his money was actually the most annoying thing that
mm,
kept kind of coming up. Like everyone's like, "Oh man, it must be so nice. He has a
mm.
jet." Da, da, da. I'm like, "No, it's very tricky. It's tricky when you get up to that level."
I can imagine, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so with my sister, it's kind of just like, What do you think, girl?" Like, do you think you're just going to steal everything and be, like, congratulations on your success? That's more of a reason that you don't steal mom and dad's stuff
Mhm.
and fuck with me the way that she has.
Or just I don't know, or just there's also a level of like lack of I don't know, there's like a lack of like understanding that
Compassion?
no understanding in general that if you are like I don't. I'm one of those people. I believe in the free market, so I'm all for if somebody invents a product, provides a service that people like and enjoy, and that then affords them the ability to attain or amass an incredible amount of wealth, wherever the number is. More power to you. Do your thing.
Yes,
But
right?
I'm also the kind of person that really is confused when that person that does that is then confused, perplexed, taken aback, and annoyed when people criticize them, because that's what comes with the job. Like if you want to be the person at the top of the mountain with all the fucking wealth and gold, you're gonna have people down below pointing up and saying things to you. That's kind of what comes with it. You kind of have to accept that that's kind of the role. But there's also the other side of things as well, where you kind of have to just live in your reality and not think that everyone around you wants what you have. Like that's also a level of like what do you call it? That's also a level of arrogance.
Awareness,
Yeah. It's a level of arrogance
self-awareness.
that's fucking insane. It's sort of like that adage. There's that saying, the adage, the fucking fable or whatever it is of the American investor counter person that goes to a tropical island somewhere. He sees a fisherman cooking fish on an island. It's really tasty. He sells it for really cheap, like $5. And then the investor's like, "Oh my god, you should do this, you should do that. And if you do this, it can expand, and you can have a franchise and do this and da. So give him his business up." And then the fisherman basically says, "I don't want to do that. That to me isn't a good life. The stuff that I do now, where I get to fish this small amount of fish, I sell it. It affords me the ability to like, take my kids to school, pick them up after school, hang out with my wife after in the evening." So that kind of arrogance of like the American person or whoever the investor is being like, "No, I know that you want to be the next KFC or fish or something," whatever it is.
Right. It's like, no,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
family needs for nothing. I'm content.
exactly. That's where a lot of these comedians come from, where they just think the people that are viewing that maybe don't really buy what they're selling are jealous, and they want oh no, you really you want to be on Netflix, you want to be at the Comedy Store, you wish you could go on tour. It's like, no, I'm just calling out the shit that you're saying. I don't believe what you're
Exactly.
saying. It's not
And
really
that
that
also
deep.
goes to another rule. Like you said something about being on the top of the mountain, whether it's with
Mm,
stand up or as a actor or whatever the thing is that you do, and you get to a very, very high, you get to the zenith, right? Or you get to a very high place. There still applies the rule of 60-40 to be relevant and sustain relevancy. I
mm.
forget which one it is right now. It's either 60% of people will like you, but you want that healthy 40% to dislike you or have issues, because then that keeps the conversation going.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, do you know anybody that's super famous or super wealthy that everyone likes them
No, but
besides Miss Rachel?
I wouldn't. But then I don't think that everyone is hard to quantify, and I think the 64 is a bit too high of a split. I don't think it's. I think there are some people who
I
maybe
read
have
it in a
people.
business book. I don't know. It's something
Yeah,
like this. But
it's
they
hard
said that you
because
should have a healthy amount of people that disagree with you. Not everyone agrees with you.
yeah, of course. But then what we're talking about is these comedian people who think if you disagree with them that you hate them. That
Right.
you your arguments, your opinion of why you disagree with them or whatever isn't in good faith.
You just don't
It has
get
to be
comedy.
exactly. You don't get it. It's seated in some type of jealousy or envy. It's whatever, or you're not smart, low IQ, whatever it might be. That's the issue that they have. I think generally across the board with celebrities and whatnot. um I don't think, because I think I've heard people like Brendan Schaub say these type of things of like, oh, you're not popping if you don't have haters. I don't think it's. I think that's a bit of a cope. I don't think it's a good thing if you're a notable person and you have over 200,000 people on the subreddit, like making it their life's mission to point out every bad, dumb thing that you do every single fucking day. I don't think that's normal. I think that's probably a reflection on you being a
That's
horrible
called the
person.
Dabbleverse. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, I think that's you being a reflection of you being maybe a horrible person. I think most people who are notable would understand that yes, not everyone's gonna like me because that's just the way the world works, isn't it? You might be a person that kind of focuses on one area that some people might not like in terms of a niche or topic that you speak about. That's going to automatically mean they're not going to be into what you're into. But I think the point where it should become a little bit, I think if you're a noble person, the point where you should get a little bit more introspective and might maybe understand and try and see where they're coming from, is where the hate is like, it's starting to like override the supporters. Where it's starting to, and everyone is saying the same thing. So if it was me and I was Whitney Cummings, I'd probably look at it and be like, I was never the most super famous person in the world, but now in this current era, there are people going out of their way to make videos, essays about me, about how my character is, about the way that I, conduct my life, about the people in my life. There might be some truth to this because there are a lot of views on these videos. There are a lot of real comments on these videos. So if that's the case, and there's not like an equal amount of videos that are saying, "Oh my god, did you see that new special that she did? Oh my god, did you see that appear?" There's not a lot of those videos out there. I would, if it was me, I would have that moment of like reflection and be like, you know what? Let me listen to what these people are saying that don't like me, because there might be some truth in here that I'm not willing to maybe see, identify. But even suggesting that sounds like sounds like hypocrisy. It sounds insane. You know what I mean? No one's ever gonna. Those guys are never gonna think that way. But I just think when
No.
the noise is that loud when the noise is that loud, directed to those type of people I'm talking about, the Brendan Shaws, the Whitney Cummings and stuff, you have to take heed to it. You have to accept that maybe your shit does stink a little bit.
Thank you so much, Power Scissor, for the $10. Love this episode. You need to have Gerardo Alacron on the next episode. Okay. I don't know who that is, but
RP Greg Geraldo. RP Greg Geraldo.
yeah, Geraldo. Or, no, Geraldo. There's a Geraldo too. I wanted to circle back to, you remember this guy called Benton, who was on Whitney's show?
Is that the
Back
guy I
in the
spoke
day.
about? Is that the guy I spoke about? Yeah.
Yeah, he's homosexual, and then he went through transition, so he's now a female.
Don't lie.
On my life, look it up. His name is Buffy. His name is Buffy. Oh, wait for it. I reached out to him like a month ago. I reached out to him like a month ago to ask him. I wanted to get together information about my mom because Whitney told me at one point, his name was Benton then. Benton used to work in nursing homes in Tennessee or wherever he's from. No shade. But, so I send him to mom to look at things and da-da-da-da. So I wanted to ask what things he was looking at, because Whitney said that Benton had complaints about my mom's previous nursing home. So I wanted to know what they were. I also wanted to know about her teeth and other things. So he wrote back to me. He goes, "I'll answer the questions that I can." I don't know. He's probably under an NDA. Who knows? But maybe not, because yesterday when the whole Miss Rachel storm started, or the day before, he started publishing text messages, old screenshot messages between my sister and him, and they're bad. I'm telling you, everything you're saying, like, I don't know I don't know the context of a lot of them, but one, I guess he said something about Joe Rogan that wasn't, Joe Rogan is God or whatever the fuck. He goes, "We don't speak ill about our elders." Like, it was Whitney just like schooling him, like, we don't do this, we don't do that. Like, one thing I was working on was she asked me to write her manifesto for her employees, which is just basically like, you know what a manifesto is, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was
Jesus Christ,
wild.
man. Come
So,
on.
and I'm writing it, and for me, I don't do the rules for, what is it? Rules for me don't apply to thee. What is it? Did I say that right?
Rules for me, no, rules for thee, not for me. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, rules for thee, not for me. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing this manifesto, I was a perfect person to do it. I'm like asking about certain things. Like, she wants me to tie it into wolf behavior. This is back in 2022 when she was really into wolves, I guess. And there was a lot of language she wanted me to use, and I kept being like, and I was asking like just the two of us at coffee or whatever, but this isn't like, we wouldn't do this. I can't think of a point right now, and I don't really want to. But she goes, "Actually, this is not for us. This is for them." And I was like, this is your employees or your team that you call family. Like, so it was interesting because I kept getting to a place where I was like, I would never have someone do this. Like, for example, there was rules. Like you can't be sidebarring, she called it, like when like employees are texting in the hallway. Her podcast studio's in the house, right? So no sidebar text message threads. Like it was all very controlling.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Of course it was. Of course it was. It
But it
wouldn't.
was
A lot of those guys, like who said it? A lot of those guys like that. I always get the impression, just as a general rule, whenever somebody's like super open and like chill and whatever outwardly, it always my thinking is like behind closed doors they rule with an iron fist. You know,
oof. I mean, I'm
it's always
telling
the
you, the guy,
case. It's always the
the
case.
version of my sister you guys are seeing now
Mm-mm-mm.
is the version of my sister that I've experienced for 13 years for the most part. It's
Yeah,
either
yeah,
this love bombing stuff where she's like, I love you, Ashley's the greatest. Like this one time she wrote Paris Hilton, all these people. It was like 8 or 9 people, like Paris Hilton, I forget who else, da 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 da, this other famous comic. And it's this whole thing, like, because she has to cover her tracks if she wants to be my sister, because she's been shit talking me for so long,
Mm.
talking shit about me for so long. So it's like, you guys, I have to tell you, I thought my sister was okay. She's not. So she's like covering her own stuff. So it's all complicated, if that makes sense. But the power dynamic is very, what's the word I want to say? The power dynamic that she wields is is I'll call it abusive. It's abusive because there are
100%.
people that even if they do know the truth about me, her money and the things that they can do for her are what their choice is for their life or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was going to say about my sister. Like, so when she goes through these, and another thing I've said, besides never trusting her again, is that she goes through these emotional breakdowns. And I'm telling you, as a human being, to receive the apologies and the crying and the
Mm.
dramatics and trying to make up with it with clothes and
Yeah,
this and
yeah, yeah.
that and blah blah
Oh.
blah. Like, come over now, I got you a really important gift, and it's like a Gucci bag. It's like cool, but that doesn't, I mean, you know, some private stuff that I'm not going to say right now. That doesn't touch some of the stuff that you know I've gone
Exactly.
through that I never
Exactly.
should have had to experience.
It's super. It's actually super insulting. I'd rather you not. I'd rather you not try and apologize this way than apologize this way. It's
Well,
actually
then
kind of insulting to reduce it to a fucking handbag. Like what?
I had a Louis Vuitton bag that my old friend gave me that I still had from like 5 or 6 years ago. She's like, "You're not Louis, you're Gucci," and I'm like, "What?" You know what I mean? But the other stuff is even more hurtful. I mean, that stuff is, um, yeah, it feels uncomfortable and it doesn't feel in alignment with
Mm,
like where I think we're going and as a like healing relationship situation.
mm.
But like calling me and crying hysterically on FaceTime. Like one time she said, Ashley, I'm not going to, I don't know, YouTube terms of service. I'm not going to delete myself so that I'm going to be here for you. I'm so sorry you had to see me in
Oh,
magazines and on
bloody
TV and you were by
Jesus
yourself
Christ.
and da 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 da. But like tears are, and I'm just like, and I'm like, it's okay, Whitney. It's okay. Like, I forgive you. Let's just forgive each other and move forward. And, but that never, I don't think she was ever able to like do that, if that makes sense. She always had to
Mm.
circle around to like Ashley's the enemy. She's whatever. I even considered what you said last week, where you're like, what if you actually wanted to be famous? Can you imagine?
It'd be
No doors would be open for me.
it would be absolutely crazy how bad it
Impossible.
would be. It'd be crazy because imagine it's this bad now. And you're just just living your life, doing your thing, and she's created this whole fucking fantasy. But I was just thinking as well, like just in general, what's really like sad about all of this is that the person, like the person or the how she acts and behaves, or I'm not gonna say the person that she's. I don't really know her like that, but the way that she behaves, you can definitely see that the only way that this will ever get reconciled and you guys will ever be cool again is if she kind of like quote unquote loses everything that she kind of holds dear, like the fame, the money and stuff, because we're only seeing the communication between you guys on public, her maybe addressing things more because her star power isn't what it once was. There's not the buffer isn't there. The buffer before was the success, was the shows, the red carpet appearances, the guest appearances on show. That was all the buffer. I'm so busy, I've got so much on. I'm not really. Oh my god, that person over there, what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? All about that was the buffer. But now that buffer has kind of shrunk over the years, and not even due to anything that she's done wrong. It's just the nature of the business, right? People have just moved on. She's no longer the most relevant person out there anymore. It's kind of changed, and now obviously you're more open. She's more open to kind of having that conversation, or maybe replying back and saying certain things. But then the sad thing is when you kind of zoom out a little bit, you think to yourself, the only way she's actually gonna get it, and even then you probably would argue she still doesn't getting it, is when she loses everything that she kind of holds dear. And it doesn't have to get that way, it doesn't need to get that far for you to kind of finally realize that, hey, maybe there are some things that you did wrong that you could maybe walk back and try to fix and go on this healing journey. But unfortunately, there are also some people who learn that way. They have to lose everything. They have to go through the most horrible of journeys, and then they figure it out. They don't really see the signs, along the way, or they'll take the opportunity to at least see the signs and kind of address it. So that's the only really sad part about this whole affair, because I could definitely see that happening.
There's a lot of sad parts, but it's interesting. Why exactly do you say that? Because a friend of mine who is a witness in this situation, he used to act in Hollywood. He has a construction company now. He's a contractor. But he goes, Ashley, trust me, she's gonna come back to you, but it's not gonna be until she loses everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? I don't understand.
Because everything you tell us anyway, everything you shared so far about you guys' relationship, whenever there is, like you said, whenever there is a conflict or whatever, or whatever she has like a moment of reflection, a lot of it is based on those type of things, the material things, the success, the this, the that. It's just kind of like invention, this fable, this tale that she has in her head about like her view of what the disagreement or what the conflict is between each other. So that's a constant thing. It's never really about the things that she's done, the things that she said, acted. It's always about the material things, about, you know what I mean? That's what. And if you think about it deeper, what really she's trying to say in a weird way is it's always your fault, essentially. It's never really, it's always your kind of fault. And in her head, she's kind of being the hero by playing the bigger role and be like, hey, come to me. I'm going to give you things, even though you're the enemy and you're the person that done wrong. So if that's the case, then that person is never really going to have a true reflective moment and to kind of understand what they've done wrong. They're only going to entertain that thought when they lose all the things that they think were the important part of that whole thing in the first place. So when she gets to a place where maybe the success isn't what it once was, or if things are really starting to look bad, that's where it'll get there. But you also don't want to say that loud and be that person, because that also means, that's what you're kind of, seeing, and you don't want to make it, it's a bad thing to say aloud, because it sounds like you're saying the only way to fix your guys' relationship is for her to fail. But you don't want to see anyone fail.
No,
like
it
that.
sucks.
But
I was wondering if you said that because it's a known thing in Hollywood that I maybe just didn't know, or if it was just specific to my sister. Because
no, it's a person. I think it's more so a personality trait. There are some people that just learn that way. They don't take this like. There are some people that heed warnings ahead of time, and there are some people who, because they don't see that they do anything wrong, maybe it's narcissism, maybe it's ego, maybe it's pride, whatever. They only learn when the things that they hold dear they lose. And then it gives them a point of reflection to be like, oh, okay, wow, maybe I've got to chill out then,
Well, then
that
that shows you what they hold dear, because I can't imagine my sister never being like, I can never imagine, no matter what would happen in my life, that she wasn't a dear part of my life, right?
Exactly, but to her, probably her existence doesn't matter.
On point, because it's like she holds material things and celebrity friendships dear, right?
Like, just
And
think about
money.
it. Think about it in your head. Think about it for a second here. How would Whitney Cummings react or behave if she was like, I don't know, who I can think of my mind, Fortune Feimster, how do you say her name? Someone like she was.
Yes, Fortune Feister.
Yeah, like imagine if she was
the bigger woman.
Yeah, like she wouldn't be able to cope. Like her success and her whatever is a big part of her identity of what she's about. So without those things, you know what I mean? It would be a proper, like, you know what I mean? She'd have one of those like mental break sort of things, which is, again, is unfortunate, because you don't want to see somebody go to a place where they have to lose everything to get it. But unfortunately, there are just some people that have that, It's just That's the way they kind of wired.
Again, in my experience and you're legally allowed to have your opinion about anything, and facts are not defamation, but this isn't more of an opinion than a fact. My experience with her is like the inability to take accountability is mind-boggling to me. It's like I can't even understand. Like Whitney will. This is a random example. This did not happen. She'll like take a cookie off the table. Let's just say, and someone's like, "Where are the cookies?" And she's like Ashley told me to eat it or whatever. It's always something between her and the other person. And then when you add the drugs and stuff, again, like she's branded herself on lies. Like we grew up poor. She paid for her university through modeling. Bitch, you are not Giselle. What are you talking about? At an Ivy League school that costs so much money. You used to go to the Mall of Prussia on the weekends because you liked it and made like $100. Like that did not pay for you, Penn. But just this whole like identity and thing that she kind of created, and then being very like, I think she's even quoted as like saying she sort of started the Me Too movement or whatever. But very like women forward. And then she went into a period of time where she was very focused on the last time I was hanging out there when the Burt Kreischer special happened on OnlyFans, she was trying to get restitution. Is that the word? I feel like I'm not saying the right word.
Yeah,
for melanated people. What?
Yeah. It is. That's the word.
She forgot about that real quick. I mean, it was just like, but then animals became a thing for a while, right? I guess she's still pretending to be really into that.
Oh my God, man.
But it's all these things, and it's like you don't even remember the things that you've told the world that and you have had quite an audience for quite some time. You don't remember the things you've even told them. You know what I mean? I have no idea what she's doing now or what's going through her head, but I wanted to go back to like you said she was fun on Joe Rogan. I remember her and Annie Lederman, and somebody sent it to me. This was, I want to say, circa 2021. Her hair was pink or blue. It was when she was doing it different hair colors. And she did ketamine on screen from a ketamine inhaler. And she's like, yeah, no, it's from my doctor. And Annie Lederman was like, pretty sure. She's like, you just snort it. She's like, yeah, pretty sure that's like, other people do lines. You have a little inhaler. I mean, it's like, but the drug, like, what's your perception of like seeing her lately? Because she has been knocked around, and I'm saying like for the first time in my life, and I mentioned this to you on and offline, I don't feel like I need to jump in and save her, which is bizarre that I felt like I had to for the last 13 years, but I have zero of that.
Yeah, it's been kind of wild to see what she's presenting herself as or how she kind of comes across online, because you can still see the little bit of the old Whitney in there, like wanting to appear a certain way, caring a lot about her, how she's perceived, but then there's so much like chaos clearly going on within her psyche and stuff that it just shows. Like there's no way to hide it. Unfortunately, that's the nature of being on the internet. No matter what you're kind of going through, even if you try to present a good face on the outside, people can just see right through it. They can just see right through it.
And I think more so now.
It's honestly, it's so interesting because you look at what she's doing. She's not like she's recording her fucking podcast in a shed somewhere. She's not doing it in a park. She's not doing it from her phone. She's, you know what I mean? Everything visually looks how it should look.
To that point, real quick, I just can't believe how many people are paid and around her and are not just like, are letting all this content out. I mean, like you guys are.
I wouldn't. I think I don't think that's fair. I think if your livelihood is tied to somebody like that and they are freaking out, it's within your best interest not to say nothing. It's your best interest. Like I don't really put too much blame on the people around, people who maybe facilitate.
Okay, fine. That's Patrick that's in the studio, but I'm talking about her managers, her money people. You just don't care.
No. Not that I don't care. I think the responsibility.
No. I'm saying they don't care.
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. They never did from the beginning. Like,
wouldn't you think that it would make sense for them because their lives literally do depend on her? Don't you think it would make sense to keep her in line? No, I mean, not in line, but reeled in to a certain point where she's not calling people racist and going after Miss Rachel?
Not really, because it doesn't really make that much of a difference to her day to day, to their day to day. Sorry, it
Oh,
doesn't make much. Like until the
it's
day that she's no longer alive, it doesn't really make any difference. No, it's with all celebrities. It's a truth. Like if it was me and I was advising somebody, I'd say it's the same. Like these guys, these agents, these managers, whoever around you, they don't love you. They're there to facilitate what you do in order for you to kind of do what you want to do, and so they can get their 10%. But it doesn't really matter either way which way you go. If you're a car crash and everyone's watching, everyone's watching. If you're doing well, everyone's watching anyway. So it doesn't necessarily matter. You're better off just letting it play out the way it plays out and collecting your coins when you collect your coins. And when it's over, you can move on. But it's a complete, and I emphasize this, it's a complete waste of time to try and step in and fix something or help, because this is a spiral. Like this spiral that she's currently on at the moment, the only way that it's going to stop is if she decides to stop herself. There's nothing else anyone can do. No one's ever going to say anything that's going to fight, that's going to be open her mind up to certain things and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. There's no revelation anyone can espouse that will get through to her at this point until she's ready to kind of receive it. It's not going to happen. She's in the spiral. We're all witnessing it. It's funny to watch, a bit sad to watch, whatever it may be. But putting the responsibility of the people around us, like, I wouldn't, if I was one of her circle and I was seeing all this play out the way it played out, you just let it play out how it plays out. And what you do if you're a good support system is that when it fizzles out and it crashes and burns, you're there to kind of put your arm around them. If they need some help and they come to you for some help, of course you put the arm around them. But stepping in and trying to course correct, no. You don't.
I mean, I might be wrong, but isn't there at least one person on her payroll that's supposed to kind of publicist that's supposed to kind of like make sure the image doesn't go too off kilter, or no?
Not really, because what off kilter?
Because that
Like,
gets attention too, I guess, right? Which is
yeah,
kinda
because
sad.
exactly, because like the truth is, if you're a publicist, your job is to make sure that the publicity is there, and at the moment it is there. No, don't get me wrong,
Good or
publicity.
bad?
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not to the point where it's harming her. Really, all intents and purposes, it's just another part of the story. It's another chapter. It's another part of the law. It's another fucking bullet point. But it's not really. Do you know what I mean? Like in the grand scheme of things, it's like, it's still attention, it's still eyes, so they're gonna keep on keeping on. Plus, they probably have a ton of other clients they deal with. They're not gonna, put all their resources in trying to course correct Whitney Cummings type of thing. So, unfortunately, in these situations, this is where you really do need to, as a person, you really do need to have the ability to sort of like recognize when you're spiraling, to kind of arrest yourself. Because if you're counting on somebody coming around you and pulling you out of that, it's not going to happen. Like look at a good example. Just recently, this is a kind of a bit of a stretch, but look what's happened recently with Bert Kreischer. He recently has quit drinking, actually legitimately, and he looks like it as well. He's on Ozempic too. But are you trying to say that his wife has never stepped in and said something about maybe chilling out with the booze? You think Bert's parents haven't said nothing? Of course they said something, but it took him going to the hospital and finding out that he's got fucking blood clots in his fucking lungs. Yeah, he found out he got blood clots in his lungs for him to stop. That's what it took. It took getting to that point. And
Does that
thank
happen
God.
from alcohol or no?
Yeah. Well, you can't. There's no direct correlation to it, but you would imagine if you're just, if there's an excess at some point, whether it's eating, whatever, drinking, there are numerous things that could pop up in your body. But it's safe to say you don't get blood clots in your fucking lungs from drinking 2 liters of water a day and
like
being on
like exercising and living
exactly,
a
and being on a plant-based diet. That's not going to happen. So most likely his lifestyle is impacted. But he's only changed now because of that severe and almost arresting diagnosis. Thank God it happened, because the horrible part is that it could have gone fatal and then they could have made a chance to change. So unfortunately, in those type of situations, the only way you learn is through those type of things. Now, the good thing, the hope is some people, they are able to recognize, oh shit, I'm bugging out. There's a moment that they see, oh shit, I'm bugging out. And then they decide themselves, so, okay, cool, let me course correct. But if you're really hoping on a prayer, especially considering what's going, like everyone's got their own thing going on. Like, to really expect somebody else to come in and pull you out of your fucking spiral is fucking insane. Especially if you've got money and you're famous and stuff and you're paying their way. Like, I don't know, like it's a weird, like it's already a weird dynamic anyway. But imagine the dynamic where like this person is inadvertently paying for your kid's private school. And then you then decide to sit them down and say, hey, by the way, I want to have a conversation about your drinking. So, Do you know what I mean? Like you feel like it's not your place, you know?
You're like, fuck off. Yeah, right, exactly. And like, no, I mean the other person's like, fuck off. Like,
Exactly,
I'm not bringing you out to the polo lounge next time. Um, but what was I gonna say about? I don't think my sister. This is sad. I don't think my sister has a lot of people around her that either aren't benefiting from her or that aren't directly on the payroll. And so that, I mean, not anymore, but it did concern me that she doesn't have like a support system for any of this stuff. But just to circle back to like from when you started to watch her, sort of, I think she started
Mhm.
her podcast in like 2019 or 2020
Mhm.
to like what we're seeing now, which is, and just say she said it like 2 or 3 times that I've seen. I'm 3 years sober. Sober from what?
California, isn't it? California sober. Like
I
there's
mean,
always
your
there's
your
those
lips are all,
asterisks. There's an asterisk, isn't it? There's a little
well,
asterisk.
yeah, there is that California sober thing where like I've never thought that, I've never counted it as sober, but you drink and smoke weed. One girl told me California sober is just not doing heroin. I was like,
Which probably
okay.
is. Yeah. But nowadays we also like I don't know, like we also just live in the world where people just make up their own definitions. Like that when that whole Akash Singh wife thing was happening, where his wife was going online and talking on a podcast about all this stuff and embarrassing him. It was really eye opening to me when I heard this lady essentially say, "Oh yeah, what before I married Akash, I was a virgin." But then you think to yourself, "Hold on, I heard you on a podcast talk about how you brought back a guy from you went out on a date with a guy from Tinder, you brought him back to your house just to sleep, and he ended up playing with your shitter, let's say." And I thought to myself, "Hold on, like that doesn't that mean you're not a virgin? Like how can you like do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But then when I googled, I found out there are people that have different definitions of what virginity means. Some people think virginity is everything but the act. Some people think virginity is like includes kissing and stuff. Everyone's got their own interpretation. Everyone basically invents their own rules. So if somebody sits there and tells me that like and emphasizes that they're sober for 3 years, I'm just going to believe you and just accept it because I don't know what your definition of it is. Like, is your definition of sobriety like I only have a glass of wine on a weekend? Is your definition of sobriety that you only,
Right.
I
What's
mean that
your
you like?
working definition
I
of
have
this
no idea
word?
exactly.
No,
So
that's what I'm
it's
saying. I'm like, you would need to you would need that information. But
mm,
I guess for me, I know because I've seen my sister since, that she was born. Um, but just the way her body's moving, the way her mouth is moving, the way she's just kind of like her she's like this a lot, but like I saw something, somebody sent me something. They're like, Ashley, this is so embarrassing. Like she had some TikTok person on the last couple days and she just wouldn't let her talk.
yeah. So,
I mean, I think she was always looking, you're flossing. Do you guys still say that in London? You're flossing?
yeah, it's for me. It's the jumping up and down. That's all. Like it's like wow. She's like there's always like a little. I'm like God damn man. She is
Oh,
absolutely
I thought you were just having fun jumping in your chair. My
no 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 no
sister.
no
Yeah,
no.
I
Yes, yeah
know.
yeah yeah yeah.
She almost
It's
fell.
the
She like didn't even. She like didn't clear her desk in this interview. This was like a couple days ago, and she puts her like arm down and misses the desk, and it's just like,
oh
what is
my God.
happening?
Yeah. And this yeah, but but again, to be fair, my again observation always, I guess it's a human nature thing. But whenever somebody is like always goes out their way to emphasize something, it's always the opposite. So if somebody's online talking about like, for instance, like, oh man, I'm a great guy, man. I'm a really great guy. That person's probably an absolute scumbag behind the scenes. Same thing with somebody's like, re-emphasizing all the time about their sobriety and stuff. They're probably a fully blown crackhead behind the scenes. So that's always whenever somebody's what I mean espousing or shouting from the mountains about the type of things, it's always usually as an attempt to kind of cover or to distract or to kind of misdirect people. But again, like I said earlier, like I just think the great awakening has happened on socials and people just see through it. Like there's, I mean, they just see through it, which is why I've always said, and it's a bit of a dangerous sort of thing to kind of go down. But I've always maintained that if you're gonna be great or doing this content thing, or if you want to do it in the best way possible, I'm a big believer in just being honest to a fault.
100%,
To a
especially
fault, you're
like
better
you
off. You're
said,
better off. Yeah,
like you said last show, especially online and in public forums. Like,
100%. Yeah.
and then okay, so that's just period.
Hmm.
But if you have the propensity to enjoy ketamine inhalers, and sort of like lie a lot and forget the things that you said, like for sure, just omit information if anything. I don't know, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Either like the approach should always be as on be have the mind frame of like radical honesty, right? Radical honesty. But then on the flip side, if you don't want to be that honest, just don't mention some things. But what you can't do is lie, like, because people see through it instantly. Like the moment you lie, people see through it absolutely instantly. There's no hiding it. So as much as she would like I said before, like the visual of it is what it is, right? You see on an interview or see on a podcast recently in the studio at home, the visual, the apartment looks nice, the studio looks nice, like well lit, everything is whatever it may be, but people are still able to see through it because if you, the easy thing would be like, oh my god, look, she looks like she's living outside, she's homeless, cool. The easy conclusion, this person's doing this and da da da. But because the way the internet is and the way people are so perceptive now online, even if your presentation is all glitz and glamour, they can still see through your shit. They can sniff it out. They can, I mean, from a mile away. So there's no real point of lying because no one really believes you. No one actually believes you, which is what makes the whole like fake views things really funny, because the people who are like the viewers who are like interested in that side of things, who care about, you know, views, who know a little bit about virality, who know a little bit, you know, who kind of have an understanding of it, even though they don't make content themselves, they know you're lying. The people who are viewing and can see through shit with some evidence, they can surmise that you're also lying, and you also know you're lying. So it's just like,
well, that part real quick, just saying, I sometimes don't know if my sister lies to herself. There is a thing, it does exist. You can lie to yourself so much that you literally start to believe your own lie. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's also insulting to her fan base and audience and people that have spent lots of money on her over the years to look at them in the face and lie. That's a separate thing. But okay, let me tell you a story. When I was in Catholic school, 5th, 6th grade, one time at band camp, we're gonna make a long story short. I was being naughty, and I flicked a switch in the bathroom. It was like a power switch or something, and the nuns came, and it turned off the power in the school. It wasn't great. So the nuns came in, and I was the only person in the bathroom. And they were like, "You touched that," and I was like, "No, I didn't." And I stuck to it. You know what I'm saying? I stuck to it. I had to clean the bathroom floors. I had detention after school for like a week, where it was like old school where you write like, I will never touch the thing, like as many times as you can on the board, this thing. And I remember going home one day and I got scared because, and then my dad, of course, grilled me like, did you touch the power thing? And I'm like, no, 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 I swear I didn't. And then I got nervous because I'm on the, my dad picked me up from detention and I'm on the way home. And then I was like thinking to myself, like, yeah, I didn't do that. And that freaked me out in my soul. And I told my dad immediately, Dad, I have to tell you something. I did hit the power button and I'm sorry. And he goes, I know you did. But the fact that I started to believe my own lie kind of put my soul in a like a state of shock. I didn't like it, you know?
I think when it comes to these guys, I think it's a bit different. I'm of the belief a lot of these guys act the same. They act in a way that everyone else acts. I don't think it's in isolation. So I think the way that Whitney acts, the way she's acting now, the way she's been acting, is how other comedians are acting. But we don't see it or we don't care because they're successful or because they're not unlikable. They're not currently going through like a hate train sort of period. So they kind of learn off of each other. So I think part of the reason why a lot of them do this whole like lying thing and think they're like tricking the audience is because they know a peer of theirs is doing the same thing but gets away with it because they're not disliked. So there's this kind of weird there's a kind of copycat thing going on. That's my belief. I don't think there's many of them out there that really do believe their own lie to that extent. I think they just kind of do the thing that someone else successful is doing because it's working for them. It's sort of like, it's almost like a fake it till you make it type of thing a little bit. And it works for them so that they try to replicate it.
Well, I was just back to the Rogan sphere. I don't know when that name came up, but I think, well, I know from my experience and think these are facts. Facts are not defamation. There were things that Rogan told my sister to do, including but not limited to things that she put into her body. And so I wonder, like in the what's your opinion about the evolution, I guess, of the Rogan sphere? And do you think that I don't think my sister's the only one he's telling what to do and what not to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's been it's been fascinating to view because I forgot who said it in the video. Maybe it was American Readout or somebody. It's been fascinating to witness in real time everyone end up like Brendan Schaub because
I don't
there
know
was
much about him. It's so weird. Like I know about him from your show. I
yeah.
know that he's been on my sister's show. I know that there's rumors. He's not the father of my sister's kid, by the way. I know there's rumors. I'm not going to say who it is. I know there's rumors about him. One of my favorite things you did, I just have to say this because I've wanted to tell you, when you covered Brendan Schaub's wife that went to Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
Can
That
you
was a fun
retell
one.
that story? What happened?
Yeah, so Brendan Schaub's wife, her name is Joanna. They refer to her as Slow Joe in the Reddit, which is really mean. They refer to her as Slow Joe, not because she's slow in running, because she's slow in intelligence, allegedly
Yes.
according to them, right? They think she's a bit of an airhead. So, long story short, she was at a Starbucks drive-through, and she got into a little bit of an
With her
altercation.
kids in the car.
Yeah, she with her kids in the car. Sorry, she got into an altercation with another person.
The
She then
altercation, though, was the guy beeped at her. Is
I'm
that
about to say,
correct?
I'm
That's
about to
how
say,
she
yeah.
got it.
But the altercation, if I'm not mistaken, the altercation was mostly her fault. Like she kind of just ramped it up in a way that was unnecessary. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it got to a point where the guy or the person that she was getting the altercation with may or may not have said something rude to her, like "you're a bitch" or whatever, something along those kind of lines, which she then took and called Brendan and basically said, "Hey, this guy said this something to me."
With the
In a
kids
way,
in the car and
of
with the
course, with the
guy
kids in
that
the
may
car.
or may not be dangerous behind her.
Yep.
Supposedly she
And
was
then
terrified.
And then Brendan obviously threw in a fit of rage, jumped in one of his many cars, raced down to the Starbucks, and according to him, he put the fear of God into the guy, offered to fight him behind the back of the fucking dumpsters and all this malarkey. And the reason why I found it a crazy story, but why it was really entertaining, was that it kind of exactly illustrated why they're a perfect couple. They kind of very much speak the same. But it also was fascinating because you could tell from how she was telling the story, she didn't kind of compute how it was a bad thing to not antagonize, but to essentially tell your husband that what happened in the heat of the moment, because you never know what he could have done in that instance in front of your kids.
And
It could have spiraled into a crazy, and God forbid there was a situation where the guy who felt threatened had some sort of weapon on him, some sort of firearm or something, where it goes. And I remember just listening to him, watching that story, thinking, "Wow, man, this is incredibly
well, and I
irresponsible and
remember her
reckless."
saying like he had a white worker truck or something like this.
Yeah,
So
of
the
course.
way I pictured it, even though a guy in a white worker truck could be psycho, could shoot your kids, by the
Yeah.
way, why would you ever take that chance? Um, but I was thinking when I was watching, because you covered it, I don't know, maybe a year ago, 8 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, this poor guy is probably just trying to get to work, like his regular job. You know what I mean? The last thing he needed was probably has no idea who Brendan Schaub is. The last thing he needed was like some fucking crazy bitch and some crazy. And I think she said to him, didn't she threaten him? She goes, "You don't know who my husband is."
Like the whole thing, that was the situation was so gnarly, was more so like in general, overall, people get a little bit nutty behind the car steering wheel, right inside the car. There's all these theories.
Because you're protected.
Yeah, there's all these theories out there about why road rage is so crazy, but some people suggest it's because of the vulnerability you feel when you're in the car, because you know one small mistake and your life could be over. So there's like maybe that heightened tension, whatever. But as a general rule, if a stranger just gets like angsty with you, it's usually not to do with you. It's usually to do with them. They've gone through something. So as a general rule, you should always have that in your mind that it's never personal. And if you want to make it personal, especially if you're a woman and you've got kids in the car, have the windows wind up, flick a bird, and keep it moving. But
Exactly.
what I remember from her story, it was more so like the back and forth. What did you say? Da, 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 is all of this stuff. It's like, why are you getting into a confrontation with another man? You don't know who the fuck he is.
Unnecessary.
And in this story, it's sounding like you are trying to antagonize him and press his button so that he can say something to you, so that you can then relay it back to your
You can punish him somehow for
former
beeping
UFC
you.
fighter fucking husband, to then come down and what, like, put the beats on this guy, and then potentially go to like, it's just such a strange way to rationalize the situation and essentially put yourself at risk. for what? Like for what? It was really dumb. And I'm glad it didn't transpire in that way and went bad. But I remember just listening to it, thinking like again, like in her head, like she was the hero of the story. Brendan was fucking
That was the
Superman.
craziest
It's
part.
like okay, man, okay.
I mean, very literally. But I think that also speaks to the entitlement as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how dare you? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know her, so I don't, I've never met her, but
But
bitch, you
the
have
but
your
the,
kids in the car. It would be very different if you didn't have two, or I don't know how many kids they have, at least two
yeah, yeah.
small children in the
No, I
back of
think
the car that
three.
are probably
Yeah,
terrified and will never forget that situation. You know what I
but
mean? That's a
yeah,
scary thing for a kid, seeing your mom flip out and then seeing your dad come yell at a guy. You know what I mean?
to be
And
fair,
by the way, the guy could have had a gun and shot what's his name too, you know?
in
Brendan.
all of the in all the years I remember growing up, I don't think I've ever saw a situation where especially outdoors, where I saw my parents kind of like egging each other on. It was always like if one person was angry, the other person was trying to calm the person down. Usually, the more trashy you are, the more psycho you are, is when you're both equally going at it. Usually, sensible, well-adjusted, normal adults, couples. If one person's going crazy and crashing out, the other person's saying, "Hey, calm down. Let's trying to pull the person away, defuse the situation, and not trying to add to it." But the psycho ones are the ones where, like let's say the lady starts an argument with the guy wants to defend the wife's honor, and the woman steps in the middle and it's like, what did you say? It starts to like do all that shit in between, which might make the guy do something to the lady, and then
Cat
it's like,
fight.
yeah, and then it's like pouring fucking gasoline on the fucking fire. But again, I just think that's also what makes them perfect for each other, because like it's just psychotic behavior, but they both get it.
Totally. But also, I don't know if you
Yeah.
know this, avoiding violence is a sign of intelligence.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
She did
for
the
sure.
opposite of that. She could have
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gotten the frappuccino or whatever, and okay, that guy was an asshole. He beeped at me. Okay. But to, then create this whole situation that could have been catastrophic and dangerous, not just for her kids, most importantly, but also for her husband.
There are just some people. I sometimes have a bit of this in me as well. There are some people who just enjoy seeing stuff play out. So like seeing like like I would never be a person to like. I think I'm too much of a good person. I'm too much of a good boy. I'm too much of a
You are a very,
pussy.
very good boy.
Yeah, I'm too much of a pussy to really, really stand there and let something play out like that. But there is a part of me that does enjoy seeing things go from like pushing, what did you say, no fuck you, no fuck you, to then suddenly like
But
somebody smashing each other's head into the pavement. There is something about that the progression, that escalation of violence, that's really funny to watch play out in real time. But when it's involving people that you love and stuff, like I don't know, man, just like especially in the world that we live in now, you never know what the other person's going through. You never know what they have on them. And then
everyone
you
is
could
stressed right now. The world has
exactly
gone a bit mad if no one's noticed.
like a small infraction could just turn somebody, could just what I mean, trigger somebody to just go crazy, and then here you are 2 seconds later, there's a fucking GoFundMe up for your fucking funeral. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. No one wants that.
Well, also back to what you were saying about your parents, how when one was a little bit fired up, the other one would kind of balance it
Mm,
out.
mm-hmm,
And you're saying that like whatever, Slow Joe and
mm,
Brendan are perfect for each other. If I did that, and we all know that I can get a little bit scrappy sometimes and emotional and
mm-hmm.
reactionary, I would want my dude to make sure me and the kids are safe. If I really felt like I had to call him into this, and probably just make sure that the guy is away from my wife and my kids, not like whatever he did, like threatening, put the fear of God is what you said into
Yeah,
him.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
just,
Because
it's nonsense.
whenever I have seen an altercation that involving a family, if if the guy is hell bent on like teaching the other person a lesson with violence, there's always a thing of like getting the kids and the wives in the car, people getting away. You're not having them around. When you have them around, that's the trashy side of things. That reminds me of that legendary video clip of the families fighting in fucking Disneyland. I think it was during the COVID. Just
Oh,
like
I
it
don't know
just
if I saw that. What
it's like a
happened?
random like it's a random video again. I love escalation of violence. I'm pretty sure it's just like two different groups of a family walk past each other, some passing words, and it just like goes from there. And then suddenly the women are fighting, the guys are fighting. Then one of the guys hits a woman, and whoever's associated with the woman defends. Do you know what I mean? It just kind of spills out. And the really sad part about it is that there's little kids all over from the family, and they're like crying, and one of them gets flung over there, one of them gets kicked in the head, and you're like. like, it's so trashy. It's so
It's
trashy.
wild, right? Like a grown ass people don't even notice their kids. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah, I
sorry,
love it.
Disney
I
World,
love it.
people kidnap people there all the time.
I love it. I fucking love it because you just have to let that shit play out. Let it play out. Let it play out.
So funny. If I can ask you a last question, I
Uh-huh.
mean, I don't know how to word it exactly, but if you and I weren't friends, and I do consider you a dear friend,
Mhm.
if you and I've told you so many things. If you and I were not friends or whatever, I'm asking just for your objective opinion about Whitney Cummings in the last 5-7 years that she's sort of been on your radar or whatever, and then up to now, or what you would like as it because you were before we would not know each other again. We would not know each other if she didn't slander me and participate in defamation and all the other things that she liked to do, and still probably is continuing to do publicly and privately. What would your take be? Like, I know that you've done a few videos on some videos that have come out about her, but like, what would you say? What's your objective opinion as a not you said you weren't so much ever like a super fan of hers, but just as somebody who observes and comments on comedy and things like this?
I would say most likely because again I wasn't paying attention too close, but I would say the unfortunate thing for her, I think now, is that this is probably what she's always been like, but we never noticed it or cared enough to notice because of the success, maybe because of the buffer in terms of other people, or maybe because you get distracted hating on other people. So the unfortunate thing with her is that the surface level observation would be it's a hate train, it's gonna pass. You're the current whipping boy, whipping person of the social of the scene or whatever. Let it pass, and then whatever they'll move on to the next person. But I don't think that's the case because what she's showing, displaying personality wise, are things that's kind of annoying people, and it's making them make more videos. Because you notice sometimes with some people, they'll videos will be made about them, about annoying behavior, annoying character traits, whatever it may be. But if as long as as long as there's not a common thread and it's not like a thing that happens again and again, it kind of stops. But I think with her, the more time she keeps speaking, the more people are finding things to not like about her and find annoying, which is then fueling this kind of this kind of never-ending cycle to the point where there's probably gonna, I'm sure it doesn't exist yet, but it's probably gonna be a dedicated channel that covers just everything that she's saying, kind of breaks it down type of thing. And the unfortunate thing with that is that she's obviously not self-aware and doesn't really understand why people have this opinion of her and stuff. So
Well,
the
I think she thinks everyone's jealous of her. Just
yeah,
that's
exactly.
my
Yeah,
opinion.
so it's not the right opinion. So she has an opinion of why people don't like her, but it's not the right opinion. It's not really based in anything. It's just kind of a cope essentially because you don't want to address the truth. So the unfortunate thing about it, like I said before, it's gonna have to get really bad until she kind of like the penny drops, and she maybe changes her behavior, corrects course, and whatever else it may be. So there is nothing really that anyone can do at the moment to kind of stop or to arrest the hate train. There's nothing anyone can do to maybe make her see the light. It has to get worse before it gets better. And the unfortunate thing is, we've got a fucking examples of it. Like I said, the Brendan Shaws of this world, where he's probably at the lowest he's ever been career wise, and still it's not my fault. It's everyone else's fault. Da, 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 da. And everyone in that, even Joe Rogan, the highest person in that kind of crew, he has that sort of thinking. If you don't like what I do, you're a hater. You don't get it. Blah 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 blah. So she kind of lives in a bit of an echo chamber as well, surrounded by people that she respects, peers who are more successful, who also think the same thing. So it's very unlikely that there's gonna come that moment where it kind of, she kind of realizes where she kind of went wrong. So there's no real advice you can kind of give to someone like that. I think the only thing you could kind of say if you were in the support system, and if it was someone like I was giving advice, someone like you, it would be the real kind of example of like, being there for somebody is regardless of how bad it gets, when they have that moment where they decide to kind of realize and accept what they've done, accept responsibility and make amends, you're also there to kind of like, to kind of cushion their fall, to put an arm around them. It's going to be really hard to do because in between those times, there's going to be a lot of things said and done that are going to be really hurtful and whatever else it may be, and it's going to be hard to kind of keep that side of your heart or whatever open. But that really is all you can do, really and truly, because when it does come to that point, more than likely there won't be a lot of people around to kind of cushion a fall. So if
And
there is
I
what
always,
if there is one
as you know,
person, so I mean,
privately, I always wanted to be that person, but you know,
yeah,
the
which is the
behavior part is one part, but the you know, the ignoring our parents' wishes, all the other dirty stuff, the gaslighting, the public slander and defamation, the messed up situations that she's put me in and blamed me for, all that stuff, and then hearing that she's still speaking privately and publicly in a derogatory way about me is just
horrible. Horrible, yeah. It's
what?
super. Like I said, so that's also one of the issues around. That's also one of the things people need to consider when they are maybe crashing out or just being a cunt to the people around them. You also have to accept that everybody has their own breaking point, different levels of it,
And I
you
think
can't take people's
Sorry, go ahead.
you can't take that for granted. You know what I mean? You can't take that for granted, because when it does come to the point where you're ready to like make the change or to accept your wrongdoings and whatever else it may be, you might look around and there's no one there. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have to be conscious of that.
Yeah, I mean,
You
she'll have
can't
her
take the piss
son
forever.
and like the babysitter or something,
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like because of her personality type, she won't ever get to that place. It'll always be blaming and victim stuff and this and that person. It's this person's fault. I mean, it's kind of wild.
The only way I see it changing, though, possibly the only possible, if I was going to be optimistic and be PMA, I'd say the only possibility that could happen is if someone like a Rogan had like one of those moments. It's not gonna. I doubt it, because Rogan's also, you have to understand, Rogan's also super
like
rich
someone that's her
and he's old.
elder,
Yes,
someone above her.
someone above her has like a period where they're like, "Wow, man, I think I understand what people are saying about the Rogan verse. Actually, maybe they're right. I'm reading the comments. They actually got a lot of good points." If that becomes like a trend, if it becomes a trend to be open to constructive criticism, if it becomes a trend to be reflective, to be introspective, blah 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 blah, or to to be okay with heeding advice from people that you maybe think less than, that maybe is a possibility, which you might just for the sake of copying what Rogan, because everyone does the same thing Rogan does, right? Rogan posts and goes, they post and goes, I don't read comments. They say they don't read comments, so they all do the same thing. So if Rogan goes down a route of like, I'm gonna start listening to the quote unquote haters and the trolls, maybe she has a come to Jesus moment, but that's wishing on a star.
I love positivity and I like to stay positive about stuff. Wait, we didn't high five last time.
Oh, yeah,
I missed it.
Oh no.
Wait.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, this way. Yeah.
No. Is it that way? No.
Fist bump. I don't know why, because you must be on the left and I'm on the right. Okay. Hold on. I love you so much. Plug your shows. When are you going to do your next one? You've been a lot more consistent. I love seeing you online more.
Yeah. So probably one later on tonight. I've got to do
Nice.
some bits and bobs and stuff. But yeah, man, I'm here. Whenever it sparks up, it sparks up. We try to do the best we can with the time that we have available. Sometimes you don't know when that time is gonna run out. It could run out tomorrow, it could run out in 100 years' time. Who fucking knows? But we try and have the best of it while we can, which is why I say point and laugh, observe from afar. It really isn't that deep for the most part, but just point and laugh. And sometimes it's always good to a lot of this stuff as well, to like, little lessons for yourself you can kind of heed from it, like kind of things that you can notice in yourself through other people and what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right. Because it's not always a point of like, oh yeah, I'm laughing because I'm the authority and I don't do anything and I'm perfect. It's like, no. It's more so, it's kind of like a
it's a way that you can sort of self-reflect. It's an entrance into I can laugh at them or with them, but also like is there anything like that resonates for me? Like, I don't think my sister does that kind of stuff. She says she does and she talks about it, but she just kind of like keeps herself busy.
Yeah, they don't do that. So I think that's the best way to kind of look at this sort of stuff. And yeah, man, just kind of let it play out. Like I said, who would have guessed or predicted however many years down the line that you know, there'd be people making fucking video essays about Whitney. I would never predict this. So it's really funny how it kind of transpires and plays out. But it's always kind of funny to see it play out in real time and see how they react to it. So yeah.
I love you. I appreciate you. I respect you. Can you shout out your channels? Random
Yeah,
show.
So go on Taz is obviously the main one. Check it out at TAZS at TAZS, and you'll see the links to my other channels on there on the homepage. Easy does it. And yeah, man, I'm about in it. I'm about, you know, my big shiny face is here, always about talking shit, having some fun, lolsy, hee and ha-has.
Thank you for being here for
Mhm.
me with me on the about this subject. Can I grab you again next Wednesday and every Wednesday after? Because I want to talk about different stuff, but I did want to get this down because you are a
Yeah, yeah.
unique person that has an outside insight and also a little bit of an insight about me.
Yeah, I'm down. The next Wednesday's probably not, but the following one I can do.
Okay, why not next Wednesday?
Mhm.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you have a hot date?
No. I've got to go to the DOCTOR.
Oh, okay. Everything all right? Is
Yeah,
it for the allergy thing?
yeah. No, for the little elbow, for the elbow situation.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I gotta get that sorted out. So let's see. So who knows? When I come back, I might have one arm. You know, I might have the little
Or
nubby.
maybe a sling. What do you mean
Yeah,
one arm? It's a little
that'd be kind of
infection?
cool. That'd be kind of cool. I have a little hook. That'd be kind of cool. I was talking about the hook.
Like very
So
few people could I think of that could get away with that, but you
yeah.
definitely could.
Like and subscribe.
Get hooked on me.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, love. I see you soon, and I'll talk to you offline about the other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
We can
Take
do
care,
that
everybody.
one.
Yeah. There we go. That
That
one.
one's
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
Oh, my
All
arm's
right,
hurting.
bye,
Yeah, leave
guys.
it.
Thank you for being here. AZ Nation, Wagwan. Love you.